So if we reject the anger, you refuse it, and then you stay with the love of God, now you can receive God's wisdom. Now you're in position to hear God. Now you won't reject godly counsel. You'll actually listen, and someone will tell you to do something, and to you, it doesn't sound, sensible, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up to you, but because it's someone maybe that you respect their counsel, you'll receive it and you will do that. And what is that? We're talking about God's wisdom, God's counsel. And what happens when we receive the wisdom of God, then we come up with solutions. Solutions to every single problem that we face. Every single problem, there'll be a solution. But again, with the enemy getting us all entangled in strife, fighting whoever that fight is against, whoever it is, it doesn't matter who. As long as you're in strife, you will not receive God's wisdom to get a solution. You won't. And then what will happen is that you'll have more problems. You will cause more problems to yourself and even to others. And I was saying earlier on that we don't need to cause more problems. We already have enough just dealing with the enemy. There's already enough problems. So you don't want it to be you causing problems because of anger. You don't want to do that. And we want to be in a place where we keep on receiving solutions from God and not getting stuck and paralyzed. I don't know what to do. We need to come up with God's solutions. God's solutions. And that's what will make people interested in us. When we come up with God's solutions to problems, we now become important. The church will be listened to, because now we're receiving wisdom that you cannot get in the natural. Wisdom that they don't have. Wisdom they can't get. And it's because we've left the wisdom of man, human wisdom. Now we've come up to God's standards. So when you refuse anger, you've come up to God's arena, his place of working and his domain. That's what you've done. So when we come up to God's domain, then he's going to be giving us solutions as we receive his wisdom. And as we get those solutions, we are going to help people on this earth. We're going to help them because they're stuck. We're talking of leaders who are stuck because all they have is natural, the wisdom of man. And that wisdom is not helping them. And here's the thing, they're operating in anger, so more and more problems are happening in their lives. But here we come and we have a solution. Amen. And I want us to look at this example of a solution with Joseph, a man of God. A man of God who could have been very angry with life, very offended because of what he had gone through. And even at this point, he's actually in jail, even thrown into jail for something he hadn't done. But he never got upset. So he could receive from God, receive God's wisdom. So let's look at Genesis 41. And of course, we're looking at this in terms of where the king had a dream. He had a problem in terms of, he wanted to know what the dream was about. And nobody in the natural, none of his people could come up with a solution. So they didn't know what to do. There was no answer from human beings. How many of you know we are not human beings? We are children of God, sons of God. So we receive our counsel from him. So talking about now human level, there were no answers for the king. So here's Joseph in prison. And then the king is told about Joseph. So let's look at verses 38 to 40. Maybe we can do King James. Look what happened, because now he's gotten the answer through the man of God. So Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find such a one as this is? A man in whom the Spirit of God is." See, that's how we'll be known. People with the Spirit of God. people who receive wisdom from God. People that, and anyone with a problem, they know who to go to. They know to come to us because we have the solutions. Next verse. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, for as much as God has showed you all this, there's none so discreet and wise as you are. Nobody's like you, Joseph. And you're talking about a guy who was in prison. So it doesn't matter where we've been. Operate with God's wisdom. Operate in the love of God, not getting offended. And then we'll be told, they'll be calling us and saying, there's no one wise like you. I don't know where else to go. You're the only one who can help me in this situation. Isn't that good? Absolutely. And look at this. Verse 40 says, you shall be over my house. What has just happened? Promotion. Promotion. And did he struggle with the solution? Not at all. Did he get all worked up, angry because of what he went through? I'm in prison. You all remember what he did when he was in prison? He was asking those two guys who were put in prison by the king, and he was asking them, hey guys, what's wrong with you? Rejoice. They're thinking, rejoice? Do you know where we are? So no, he didn't get offended. He didn't get offended. So here he is in prison hearing, and you know what God is giving him? A solution. And with that solution, it's also going to get him out of his situation. He's also coming out of that prison. Amen. And coming out with promotion. Whoa. You shall be over my house, and according to your word shall all my people be ruled. I would like to be there, that everybody listens to me. I'm sure you'd also want to be there. Yeah, so that they all listen to you. Why? Because we are operating with the counsel of God. That's why they need to listen to us. And then he told him what? Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. But he was the top of the top. And of course, we know even later, going, when it came to the financials and all of that, Joseph's assignment, he was above even the king. And he was the distribution center. And here's something that is so important. When you don't fuss with people. See, Joseph could have fussed with his family, could have fussed with his dad, with his brothers, but he didn't. He just operated with the love of God, the kindness. And then what happened is, as they increased in terms of, because of Joseph's wisdom of financials, how to do the financials. And you're talking of Egypt. I mean, it's foreign, but he's in charge. So what happened? The king now wanted to know who Joseph was. He got to know his God. This is your God. Now he's wanting to know his father, his natural dad. And then he even said, bring them over. Bring, let your family come. And I'm going to give them the best land. Some of you will say, they don't deserve it. No, Joseph was okay blessing his family. And that's what God does through us, so that you don't come against family members or friends or colleagues or just people, someone who attacked you. No, when God is moving, let everybody be blessed. He blesses all. And that's why we don't have any enemies, so that God can flow through you even to bless others. And that's how now Joseph's family, the dad, the brothers, and all whatever family, big family, they got the best from Egypt. In fact, at some point, there were chariots. You remember that? Yeah, that was sent to take stuff to them. Before they eventually moved into Egypt, they were, call them truckloads of food and material and things that were taken. And it's all because of this one man who refused to get offended. Joseph. One man. He got a nation delivered and his family delivered. His family came out of a place where it was suffering so much with no food, no nothing. And they came to a place of abundance because of Joseph. And they didn't Did they deserve it? No. Do we deserve it? No. None of us deserve it. But here we have a good, good Father. Allow him to father you. And don't get upset. Don't get offended. Don't get all tied up and wrapped up in offense. Let people go. You know, if you could see some people in the spirit, they can't even walk because of you. They're tied up. They're not moving. Now, this is how, when we now do it Joseph's way, this is how we influence people and become leaders. That's how we can influence. And you become now a leader. Leader of God, God's standards. Not our standards, God's standards. Because now you're being led by God. You're doing things God's way. So now you're influencing people. Amen. And in that influencing, you're leading people. They're following now Joseph. They're being led by Joseph. And I found this so powerful. That when we are leading people, see again, we're talking about influencing people. And we want to lead people. I've just said that, I'd want everybody to do what I say. And when I say, and I believe I hear from God each time I'm telling people to do things. And so when I tell them to, they should do it because it's God's wisdom. And so the best way to lead people is not to make them fear. That's the natural. That's flesh, getting people in fear, getting children to be fearful. And if you do that with fear, we've said this before, but fear paralyzes. People become paralyzed. They can't even think because of fear. And here you're trying to ask them questions, come up with this, do this, think quickly, and they're stuck because of fear. And that's what fear does to all. That's what fear will do to children. They just get stuck. But it's because many times we've led people making them fear or beating them. The best way to lead people is not to make them fear. It's not to beat them. Not to beat them. The best way to lead somebody is through influence. This influence. Influencing them.